It is definitely is going to be a fun review for all the Hispanic viewers that I watch. Not so fun when it comes to the Catholics who are watching. Yeah. Yeah. I am coming at you today with a review. I recently watched Satanic Hispanic, and this movie was fun. It was, I want to say, it's very like a anthropology, but it's just to sum it up. It starts off with freaking a SWAT team breaking inside a freaking house, and when they go walking in, they see a bunch of dead Mexicans everywhere. And Lord will hold, it was a human trafficking sting, and there was only one survivor, and this guy was chained up in the room next door. And they bring him in the booking, and the entire movie is pretty much him getting interviewed by two detectives trying to figure out what the hell's happening in this house and why were there a bunch of dead Mexicans everywhere. And they come to find out that this guy is known as the Traveler. Can't think of the actor's name, but just to put a face to it, it's Pedro from Napoleon Dynamite. And the dude can act. I was actually rather impressed with this role that he picked on. Just because, like, I've always kind of known him to be that really gumpy Mexican from Napoleon Dynamite. And seeing him in a different role that for me, it felt like it was out of norm for him. It was really cool. It's because like he came off as like a really, cool, badass dude. And we'd like to see him more in roles like these. But nonetheless, yeah, the detectives end up finding out that he's like some ancient Aztec god who is trying to take on Saint Death. And he's constantly running away from Saint Death because way back then, his wife and his kids were going to die, and he prayed to Saint Death to take him instead. And then when that time came for Saint Death to claim his soul, he ended up running away. And comes to find out that he's immortal, can't die, and that these detectives believe none of his bullshit. So the entire time, this dude's telling different stories about things that had happened that the police department are aware about. I mean, he told one story where it was about this guy in Mexico who was able to figure out how to open a portal to the underworld, and he ended up releasing some like demons, to say the least, and that these demons, when you look at them, they portray themselves as someone you know and love, but dead, and like their appearance resembles them dying in a really grotesque way, to say the least. And yeah, it was rather entertaining. Well, another story that he told was about a vampire who was wreaking havoc in Texas, and that he on Halloween night he got a little too ahead of himself and gets a phone call from his thrall, to say at least, another vampire that he turned, and that this chick pretty much told him like, "Yo, you're out past, like it's about to be daylight soon, and if you don't get back here in time, you're gonna die," type of shit. And pretty much it's his whole journey trying to get back to his coffin to go to sleep. And it gets to the point where his wife or who, his vampire chick comes and saves his ass, but they don't make it back in time, so they end up hiding in a dumpster. But they realize that the dumpster wasn't sealed tight when it comes to light coming through, so they end up burning to death inside a freaking dumpster. And that was whatever. I didn't care too much for that one. And then the other one was about a group of people who go down to Cuba, I think, and they witness a ritual that was only supposed to stay within that confines, and that any form of recordings that get recorded, bad things start to happen. And pretty much, Lord behold, each person in the group start getting, killed off one by one in different ways when it comes to, I want to say like, Mayan Aztec like gods or some shit like that. But it was cool. It gets a little weird because there's like a demon penis involved. So, and the whole story leading up to how this demon penis was acquired, which is called the Hammer of Zimbabwe or some shit like that, was really weird. And but I mean, it was, you know, it was a fun, I guess, little story to say the least, just because like the fight scenes were pretty cool. And then it ends up with going back to this main guy who's being interrogated by the detectives, pretty much telling these, you know, detectives like if they don't release this dude soon, they're gonna die. And that, you know, Lord behold, they don't. And then Saint Death ends up making his appearance and starts killing all the police officers inside the police department in really grotesque ways, literally just making them either kill themselves or kill each other. And the only thing that's going to kill Saint Death is this ancient gun that fires a bullet that is made from the nail that was used to crucify Jesus onto the cross. Which was an interesting, you know, plot for sure. And that's what ends up happening, but it doesn't permanently kill Saint Death. It just, I guess, temporarily gives this guy an opportunity to get away and get some hours and, you know, possibly even a day ahead of death. And eventually death will come after his ass again. But yeah, a fun movie. Recommend it for sure. The acting was decent, to say the least. The kills were interesting. The practical effects were really cool. I know when it came to that first story about the demons coming out of like the portals and they represent like a loved one, that stuff was kind of creepy just because they kind of get you really quickly with a curveball, with a good jump scare to say the least. Of like this person underneath this table when you first see him, the person who opens the portal is chilling, you know, is at a dinner table talking to his sister, and he scoots out of the table and he looks down and you just see like this like corpse looking individual with like creepy ass eyes and their jaw just hanging because they're like cut right here, and you just see their tongue hanging in their like teeth, and it was gory and bloody and it was really spooky. But yeah, I recommend it. It was fun. I liked it. And that yeah, has some, you know, a lot of moments where it's in Spanish, so that's a heads up. But other than that, I recommend. Catch you in the next video. Peace.